Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Shrewsbury Zoning Board of Appeals, regular meeting for Monday, September 29th, 2025. First on the agenda, we are looking to review and sign a few bills. First is for $325.60 to the Community Advocate for the September 29th, 2025 legal notices. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next is to review and accept meeting minutes for the meeting held July 28th, 2025. Can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next is review and accept minutes for the August 25th, 2025 meeting.
I move to approve.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our first public hearings of the evening. First is a request for a continuation to 14 Edgemere Boulevard, Residence B2, for a variance to Section 7B, Table 2, to construct a two-car garage 21 and 9/10 feet from the rear yard setback where 40 feet is required. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to continue the hearing to the next hearing, and the date of that is October 27th,
7th.
2025,
Second?
At 6 PM?
at 6 PM. Thank you.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Moving right along. First hearing is to hear the appeal of Deborah Grady, 32 Bayview Drive, Shrewsbury, Mass., for two variances to the Shrewsbury zoning bylaws, Section 7, Table 2, and Section 7, Table 3, to construct a two-car garage on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, 11.3 feet from the front yard property line where 30 feet is required upon property located at 32 Bayview Drive in the Residence B2 zoning district. Subject premise is described on the Shrewsbury Assessor's Tax Plate 51, Plot 085000. Can I ask the applicant to step forward, please? If you could just have a seat right here,
All right.
and if you could first state your name and address for the record, please.
It's Deborah A. Grady, and the address is 32 Bayview Drive.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And if you could walk us through your appeal, please, we'd appreciate it.
The plot plan that was sent to me from Jarvis Landscapers, it shows Bayview Drive going around. I have a pie-shaped lot, and the garage would fit behind the house, but it would not give me access to the street in a very affordable way. If I turn the garage just a little bit out and put it in the yard in a different way, it'll come out to Bayview Drive if the driveway runs alongside of the house. So I sent pictures of both plot plans and the street view. So the plot plan shows Bayview Drive going around the corner of my pie-shaped lot. It does not. The Bayview Drive goes right across the front of the yard and continues down the street. There is a paper road that we call the dirt road, or a fire access road for the wires for the town. That does not get plowed, and it's not paved. So that's really not accessible to me to use, as an access for the driveway. So that's why I want to turn the garage out towards and face the street alongside the house on that pie-shaped lot.
Okay. Chris, anything else to add?
No, we did issue a comment letter in relation to this, and I think that kind of speaks for most of the outstanding items.
Okay.
There is an existing driveway in front of the house, which I believe is, when you look at the plot plan, it shows it's like half into the street. That will be removed and turned into a garden. And I'm willing to try to go through my old garden to avoid taking down any of the old growth trees that I have. I think there are 8 oaks on my property. It's a pretty small lot with lots of trees.
Okay. Great, we can go through the board and ask questions. Fran?
Which way do you go into the garage? The 24-foot dimension or the 26-foot dimension?
24.
So you just come right off Bayview right into the garage?
Right. I would like to have like maybe a little turnaround so that when I pull out of the garage, I can space coming out of
You got
the.
the house that existing at 10-2 off of the street, right? That must have grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't see a big deal with this myself.
Okay. Megan, want to start to my left and go that way?
Sure. So with your proposed garage location, do you have to lose any of the trees, or no?
I'm hoping not to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't, it's not clear to me exactly where they fall with relationship to.
They're out on the edge of the property. I think there's one tree, it's next to the picnic table. That one, I'm gonna have to curve the driveway out into like the dirt road a little bit, and I don't mind losing a little bit of the garden to do that. That's fine, because I'd really, those trees, when they're that close together, they kind of depend on one another. If you take down
Right.
one, I'm afraid it'll damage the other two.
Right, right.
So,
And
but
then,
it'll also get rid of, I have a really big problem where the driveway is now. When I go to back out, there's like a double oak tree. It really blocks my view. I have to be very careful blocking, backing out of the driveway that
Yeah,
way.
I can see
So I'm
that.
hoping to avoid that with the new garage and driveway, being able to turn around and come out, heading out, and not have that obstruction of the tree. Because
Right.
that's a town tree, and I can't touch that.
right. And then as far as that paper road, do we need to maintain clearance to that? Is that for, I'm asking Chris now, is that for fire access or anything like that, or what is that, the purpose?
So the paper street as it exists, as represented, it's not paved or plowed. As a paper street, it exists on paper. It is a town-owned way, but it hasn't been improved, and the town traditionally does not create
Right.
any improvements to those streets, so they exist on paper only. As you've noted in this case, it is kind of gravelly. It does look like there's some parking of vehicles on.
That's just to prevent people driving through.
So.
Have my neighbors block it up with their boat and their car.
Yeah, so it exists in some form, but, is not managed in terms of all seasons.
And that would be, is that outside of your property line, or is
It's
that?
adjacent to my property.
Right.
So that it, like, I curve around in a pie shape, and that's right where the dirt road is.
Okay.
And it runs behind my lot and behind the house behind me.
Okay. I think I'm good for now. I may have more later, but we can move on.
Ann?
I think there are significant issues with the shape of the lot, and I think you've made a showing that the literal enforcement of the zoning bylaw would involve a substantial hardship in having to take down the trees. I think there's a benefit in leaving the trees. We're losing a lot of trees in Shrewsbury, so to the extent we can maintain them. So I think it's a good project. I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
Dave?
I agree with everything Ann just said, and as well as I'll add that 7,800 square feet is not a lot to work with when the minimum lot size for regardless of zone or any zone is 12,500. So you're at almost half there. And the pre-existing structure we're not concerned with tonight has a 10.2 foot distance to the boundary, and then all the other relief that you're requesting is still outside of that, or inside of that, I should say. So I think that's good. So I have no other issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel the same way as all my colleagues feel. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to be heard on this matter? All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, can I get a motion, please? We have two variances here.
I move to approve the two variances. There we go. I move to approve the appeal of Deborah Grady, 32 Bayview Drive, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, for two variances to the Shrewsbury zoning bylaw, Section 7, Table 2, and Section 7, Table 3, to construct a two-car garage on pre-existing non-conforming lot 11 and 3/10 feet from the front yard property line, where 30 feet is required.
It'll be and 5.5 feet from the principal dwelling.
Yes, and 5.5 feet from the principal dwelling.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next hearing is to hear the appeal of Oscar Flores, 205 Endicott Ave, Revere, Mass., for a variance to the Shrewsbury zoning bylaws, Section 7, Table 2, to construct an addition 23.5 feet from the rear yard property line where 30 feet is required upon property located at 18 Swan Circle in the Rural B zoning district. Subject premise is described on the Shrewsbury Assessor's Tax Plate 26, Plot 226000. Good evening. If you could state your name for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Oscar Flores. I live at 205 Endicott Avenue in Revere.
Welcome.
Good evening, this is Harika Samudrala. I live in 18 Swan Circle, Shrewsbury.
Welcome. You could tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do. We appreciate it.
So I am the agent and basically responsible for the architectural drawings that we submitted to the town. And when we did the design process for this project, basically our main objective is to accommodate the growing family. Basically we needed to accommodate the parents, the kids, and we needed more space. So basically when we tried to create an addition, we noticed that we had a constraint with the setbacks, and these constraints didn't allow us to create the space that we needed to provide a better quality of the space for the family. So we, in order to provide like a better area, we needed to move a little bit forward towards the back of the house. This is where the area that we can do. So we can see like on the screen, this is the lot, and a few constraints that we have is that due to the regular shape of the lot, the house needed to move way backwards. So we didn't have like that much space to continue. So if we proceed with the next slide. So this is the plot plan, and this is where we are proposing our addition. So currently the setback is said to be 30 feet, but with the proposed plan we are at 23.5 feet. So we are requesting the variance for you to allow us move 7.5 feet further towards the back. If we go to the next slide, please. Next one. So this is the current floor plan of the house. As you can see, I mean, pretty much everything is like the living space. We have the living room, we have the dining table, kitchen, and this is all dedicated to just the open space for the family, where the bedrooms are in the second floor. If we move to the next slide. So this is basically the proposed floor plan. Where we can see is we are creating a bathroom and a full bathroom in the first floor, so the parents can live in this area, and we are moving the social space or the gathering space towards the back. So in order to compensate the current area that exists in the house. So we move to the next slide. This is second floor. This is when it stays assessed. Next slide. This is interior space. So we just trying to create like that opening space for the family, just the way it is currently. Next slide. Okay, continue. These are like elevations. If we continue. This is just a cross section, and what we are proposing is, since we are moving back 7 feet more, what we are trying to do is like create like a landscape in the surroundings. We are not exceeding, we are going like maybe like 2 feet from the second floor, so we are not going like way too high, so it doesn't disrupt the neighbors per se. It's a low addition. We can continue to the next slide. This is another cross section. This is a perspective. Next slide, please. The next one, please. This is the front elevation. There are no changes. Next slide. Side elevation, as you can see, the proposed addition is not surpassing, it's going like over like 2 feet from the second floor. Next slide. And these are like renderings that we did just to show you that we are, trying to create like a landscaping space and not disrupt like the nature, and try to just have an addition that goes with the aesthetics of the house. So that's it.
Thank you. All right. Megan, you want to start?
I don't have too many questions right now. I think, given the size of the lot and pushing the house back, it seems to make sense. So I think I'm good.
Okay, we can circle back if not.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comprehensive presentation. I think you gave us a lot of information that we can make a decision from. It seems that the shape of the lot is a problem, and I think that a literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance could involve substantial hardship. I think the project meets with the requirements of the intent and the purpose of the zoning bylaw, so I don't have any problem with it. It looks like a good project.
Thank you.
Dave?
I, again, echo everything that Ann has to say. Yeah, I agree. The pie-shaped, a different pie-shaped lot presents a different set of challenges. Like you said, the original construction was located as far forward as it could, which sets you up for the circumstances that you're in right now. I think what you're asking for is reasonable and consistent with the theme and the character of the neighborhood. And it's really just, like you said, additional living space for the folks who are already there. So I have no issues.
Thank you. Fran?
Yeah, same thing. It's totally consistent with the neighborhood, right in character, challenging lot, plenty of space behind them.
Okay. Tonight was our pie-shaped lot.
Pie-shaped lot problem.
I agree with everyone. So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to be heard? If you could step forward, please, to the microphone. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Ali Kafel. I'm their neighbor, Harika's neighbor. Just have a question. So where the deck is now is where this addition is going to be, right?
Correct.
Are you going to have a deck in addition to that?
No.
No deck.
We're gonna have like an open space on the side.
Okay. And then I think also your bulkhead, are you moving the bulkhead?
Yes, we are moving it to the side.
Okay, so that new addition will have a full basement?
Correct.
Okay, and the bulkhead would be on,
Mhm.
would be outside towards the back,
Correct.
not on the side?
Right.
Okay, got it. I'm good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll do a motion.
All right.
I haven't done one, my
Go,
first
Fran.
motion. I make a motion that in the matter of Oscar Flores at 18 Swan Circle, rural B zoning, he requests a variance of table 7, section 7, table 2, to construct an addition 23 5/10 feet from the rear yard property line where 30 feet is required, and this motion is to approve such a variance request.
Second?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving right along.
Okay.
Right, next is a continuation from our August 25th meeting.
Thank you.
This is to hear the appeal of 409 South Street. CPC Land Acquisition Company LLC for a comprehensive permit to Mass General Law 40B, Section 20 to 23, to permit the construction of a 196-unit multifamily residential development. Welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, so this was continued from the previous meeting, so to open it, we just need to read the legal notice.
Yes.
Into the record.
Okay, this is to hear the appeal of CPC Land Acquisition Company LLC, 70 Wells Ave, Suite 201, Newton, Mass. 02459, for a comprehensive permit pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 40B, Section 20 to 23 of the Massachusetts General Laws and the Shrewsbury Zoning Board of Appeals rules relative to submission and review of a comprehensive permit application to permit the construction of a 196-unit multifamily residential development upon property located at 409 South Street, Shrewsbury, Mass. The subject premise are described on the Shrewsbury Assessor's Tax Plate 42 and Plot 012000. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Jack Engler, and I am a principal at Criterion Development Partners. I'm joined here at the table with by Chris Copeland. Chris is a colleague of mine at Criterion, and we also have various members of the design team in the audience that we can call upon as necessary. But John Smolak is here from Smolak and Vaughn. I think Phil Cordero is here from Allen and Majors, and then Matt Murata as well from Icon Architecture. This is a preliminary, our first hearing in front of you, and I just thought we'd go into some of the things that we're doing, but I'll give you a little background on Criterion to the extent it's helpful. We do have some experience in the town of Shrewsbury. We were lucky enough to develop the old Spag site as part of the Whole Foods, not the retail section, but the residential section, originally called Quinn 35 after Lake Quinsigamond and the fact that we were at 35, one of the streets nearby. It's now called Bell Shrewsbury, but certainly have been. I also happen to have been married here, and my mother grew up here, so I've spent a lot of time in Shrewsbury over the years. What we're presenting tonight is pursuant to a LIP that we have been working with the town on, and we wanted to present the 196-unit plan that we have arrived at and wanted to go through some of the different details. If you go to the next slide, Criterion is a developer. I started the company in 2004, have built about 6,500 units since then. Most of the work we do is in the Boston area, from the North Shore to the South Shore. And we do have an office in Dallas that has done occasional projects, about one a year over the last 20 years. But I've been working with my partner since 1996, prior to starting Criterion, so it's been a long partnership for sure. My wife and I haven't been married as long as I've been doing this. Anyway, the site itself is located at the intersection of Route 20 and Route 9. Basically, it's about a mile up the road from that intersection, heading west on Route 20. It's at the crossroads also of South Street, which runs between Route 9 and Route 20, and then Chestnut Street, which also cuts over to Route 9 as well. Specifically here, we're zoomed in on the site. It's hard for me to see what we're looking at. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you can see Chestnut Street running vertically up to Route 9, South Street doing the same, a little off to the west of Chestnut, and the site being identified in yellow next to what is, I suppose, UMass Medical, but we are hearing there's other things that are going to be happening there in the future.
Essentially a vacant site.
Yeah. What we've proposed is 196 units and really two different types of buildings. The unique aspect we feel about our development is we have a number of two-story buildings. The 6 buildings on the right side of the screen are all two-story, and they're individual units where you open the door, walk into the unit on the first floor, or open another door and walk up a flight of stairs where you're in your unit to the second floor. So they're flats, but they're in a townhouse-style building. We were trying to avoid the 4-story stick surface park kind of typical thing, and this is the concept we've come up with. We're utilizing it presently in the South and Dallas, and it's proven to be a very popular floor plan and a way to live. The other 2 buildings are I'll say 3 stories, because they're really 3 stories, even though we're trying to, it's like 2.5, because they're 2 stories and then the roof line, but we're within the roof line. so 3 stories. The site breaks out about 96 units in the 2-story buildings and 100 units in the other, on the 2 3-story buildings. This is the entrance if you were to come up from South Street on Chestnut, and trying to create a corner there. And we have spoken with the neighbors, and we'll get into some of the work that we're trying to do there to help, and understanding their concerns in terms of lights and brightness of the buildings and positioning of the buildings. But this is the view if you were to come, I guess, down South Street and take a left onto Chestnut, this would be the view of the first building on the right-hand side. This would be the view entering the project from Chestnut, so dead center of the project off of Chestnut directly in. The right side would contain a clubhouse, the left side would be just clubhouse and units, the left side just units. This depicts that a little bit more, a lot better than I can say it. But the blue, the light blue that you see there in the bottom building is the clubhouse, surrounded with the pool and a small dog park and outdoor space. And the building to the north is simply units with certain lobbies that are also depicted in blue. There are garages that we have planned, both carports where we hope to put solar panels on the top of, and also garages scattered about the parking area. It's a quick view of some of the, I'll actually let you go into the amenities.
Yeah,
space.
some of the outdoor spaces we're trying to program here for the residents here. A pool, some seating areas, people to gather outside, bring their dog, cook a hamburger, and basically enjoy what was a really nice weekend like last weekend. Maybe some games and other things. Just focusing in on the pool, seating around the pool, cabana style, outdoor seating, umbrellas, things like that. These are examples of pools that we've done in some other developments, but with success, good feedback on how these actually function. And if you went to the inside and entered the clubhouse, you might see something along these lines. This is one that's in Somerville, but a lot of these amenities you see in other amenitized properties like this, but co-working, places for people to meet and work and get things done if they're not commuting anymore, just working from home. Teaching, kitchen, place to cook and gather and eat, have lounge space, watch a game. Fitness, yoga, these infrared sauna, light therapy things are becoming pretty popular.
I'm dying to try that. I
By
never
doing
have,
those.
but I'm hearing,
Highly
I'm hearing
recommend.
great things about it.
Some games, billiards, right now, we're not exactly sure, but, just a place to hang out on a weekend. On-site management will be there, professional management will be on-site, they'll manage packages, watch people come and go, ensure that the security cameras are working, and make sure the trash is picked up, everything's looking good, so these people will be on-site, obviously prospective tenants coming in and leasing as well. Pet wash as well, pet friendly.
I want to bring up the pets because we happen to abut someone who takes care of pets, and most of I will say most because I can almost say over 50%, but in some of the developments it is over 50% of our residents do have a pet, and it kind of started at COVID and it's continued on. We just have a tremendous amount of residents that do have pets, and having the ability to have service next door to be able to come and walk those pets and take care of those pets, and it's just a tremendous asset to us in our opinion, and something that hopefully if we're lucky enough to get through, we would be able to take advantage of. So just wanted to mention.
Looking down the hill a little bit to those village flats in the back, just a little more detail, and like Jack said, some of the architectural language to make these feel less dense and a little more familiar in a neighborhood feel. Shingle roofs, separate entrances, some balconies in the back, walkouts as we go down the hill off to the right here. This hill comes down, you might have some walkout bedrooms down there is what we're looking at, with attached garage parking on the ends of the buildings. It might look something like this from the interior, fully loaded with cars and people walking around. Views out the sides will be better than the parking lot, but nonetheless, if you walk inside, and this might be for the flats as well, up front, the bigger building, units that have open kitchens, natural light, paying attention to larger ceilings and stainless appliances. We're looking at doing these heat pump laundry drying units, so we don't have to vent to the outside, as long as they dry well, which we're testing in real time. Solid counters, and smartphone entry is a big thing nowadays, just using technology for people to get in and out of their.
100% electric as well. We're not bringing any gas to
Yeah,
the
no
site.
gas. If you dig into the floor plans a little bit, you start to see the separation of these units. Again, separate entrances, so just on the ground level, you could park a car and come right into this unit here in green on the left and right. And if you park here at these front garage units, you can traverse up these stairs up to the unit above here. So we've tried to just make it so it's a little more like, almost like condo living in some ways, but still lower scale. Part of our development agreement with the town is to do some public roadway improvements and improve the geometry right where Chestnut and South intersect. You can see in the light gray underneath this image where it exists now and sweeps really wide with an island in the middle. Given the traffic here, the notion, and this we expect will be peer reviewed a little further, and we'll study traffic, and we can do a traffic presentation in the coming hearings, but this is the first step at organizing a better intersection at right where these two roads intersect, and just make it a little bit more friendly to drive with mill and regrade. As you go up that hill, cut it down a little bit so it's not as steep, and just try to make it a little bit more safer. We do have to talk about some sidewalk connectivity, and there's power lines in the air. We're gonna get those underground, and we've been working with Selco to make that happen. Road to approvals, this, if you look back to December of '24, when the select board authorized the application, fast forward through the development agreement process, we worked with EOHLC to get our eligibility letter and our LIP filed based on that development agreement. We had that eligibility letter on July 1st of this year, and filed shortly after that, and here we are with our first hearing. So we'll expect a couple of hearings, and then we'll get right into drawings and commence construction, hopefully as soon as next summer if this all goes well, but no intentions to slow down.
Yeah, and some of the neighborhood impact and conversations we've had with some of the neighbors.
We had a meeting on the 18th.
We did have the neighborhood
Over here at
meeting,
the senior
but
center.
there are two residents that stopped by, and it worked out really well because we had a chance to actually sit and discuss what we're doing and understand some of the problems that are anticipated and what we can do maybe to make those go away or help or mitigate and all those things. And I think it was a very helpful process. There are a lot of suggestions, and some that we can easily do, some that we're still looking at, but the simple ones certainly are trying to eliminate some of the signage and lighting bleed that happens. I know that one of the neighbors happens to be in front of a large commercial building, industrial building, that has quite a lot of light bleed, and also the color of that building accentuates that bleed. And we obviously, initially we showed white buildings here because that was sort of the program, but we recognize that that may not be the best for the front two buildings, and perhaps it would make sense to darken them up a little bit so that the reflective glare doesn't happen as much as it could. I know there's a lot of traffic that goes down that street, and we're trying to understand the noise associated with the various trucks that either brake coming down South Street or accelerate and run through the gears going up South Street. Also, the parking lots where we have them positioned, making sure they're blocking, all the headlights are blocked from spilling over through into the neighbors that are close by. A big piece of that has to do with the design of the site. One of the suggestions that came out of the neighborhood meeting is, could we move the pool to the opposite side of our entrance as opposed to having it where it is? I don't know if that's so much a sound issue, but maybe that was just concern for the residents in terms of those trucks that come up and down that street, and whether or not we can mitigate that sound by maybe moving or changing the configuration of the building so the building provides somewhat of a barrier to that pool area. But given that the pool isn't used all year round, it might be better to not have the units face the truck. So we're looking at certain suggestions that were given to us, and we haven't dismissed any of them. One of them was to move the garden buildings to the back and the taller buildings to the back and the shorter ones to the front. The geometry of the site makes that particular thing difficult for us. So we can move the larger buildings from one side to the other much more easily, and it's not even ease, it's just whether functionally you can do it properly, then move the lower buildings to the front and the bigger buildings to the back. Again, good suggestions, and one that we will continue to talk about. You know, we love the fact that we're calling it Friars Farm. There was a history of the Friars on that site, and we want to continue to promote that sort of history. I don't know if there's anything else there.
Well, just some community and public benefits here. We are under a jurisdiction here of 3A zoning, where multifamily is allowed by right, but we stuck with a proposed 40B, which provides 25% affordability, which is a really big, I think, key term for the town here in addressing their status with 40B and a critical housing need at the same time. So that's one of the public benefits here. But the lower density, addressing that with a variation of product, a neighborhood feel, good landscaping, electric, high efficiency heat pumps for cooling and heating. And, I just wanted to note in our community development agreement and town partnership that we have to improve that road, we also have some reduction of some project fees that were already granted in that agreement as part of this application. But that's all we have for tonight, and we look forward to your comments, the public comments.
Okay. Anybody want to start first?
We're going to open it to the public first?
Sure. All right, is there anyone that wishes to be heard on this? If you could step forward, please. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, David Singer, 400 South Street. I just want to get in front of the board and say that it was a very nice meeting that Mr. Englert organized for the entire community. The community ended up being really just me and one other resident. But what he pointed out and what was nice about it is we actually got to talk. And some of the board know me. I've been through this process an awful lot. I understand this is a preliminary meeting. There's a lot to talk about going forward with traffic and things like that. But so far, all the points that I kind of brought up with Mr. Englert and his team, he certainly addressed tonight. And as long as we continue that communication, I understand this is a 40B project. This is going in, no matter what, it's a good project for the town. Mr. McGoldrick, I think, confirmed also that this project will finally get us to that 10% low income, which gets us out of that 40B kind of conundrum that we've been. I don't know if that's the case necessarily. But, you know, again, everything's just been kind of addressed. That first picture you saw coming up from South Street onto Chestnut Street where it has the big white building, these were some of the current concerns that we brought up. This picture right here is almost like you took it from my living room. So, and also the neighbors, and I'm here kind of representing the neighbors. We're three small little houses, and we're just going to try and mitigate the lighting, the traffic, and some of the congestion that we have there, because there is not just what we have there, but a lot of the projects that are ongoing, whether it's, you know, up on Green Street, whether it's Falcon Crest, there's a lot of stuff going on there. So as we go through, appreciate the board just kind of listening and the concerns that us neighbors have, and also really looking forward to continuing the conversations and mitigating the impact and making it as nice as possible for everybody. I did suggest the movement of the pool to these guys for a couple. I didn't even think of it tonight, but as I sat in the crowd, sat here listening, just wondered, like, would there be a time limit on the pool, late night pool parties? You know, how are you going to limit that kind of noise? But really, it just started out as I've lived there for 33 years. Those trucks, every single truck that comes up, that goes down South Street, that comes down Route 20, it's like earth shaking and extremely loud and pollution. So for really the quality of life of the residents, to try and get them a little bit further away, put the dog park a little closer to where the dog care facility is next door, and everybody would be happy. And that's all I have to say for tonight. I realize I'll be following meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wishes to be heard?
So, I just want to make one clarifying point on the 10%, just since that was brought up. What was mentioned in discussion, so the cumulative effect of all of the projects before the Zoning Board of Appeals currently would put us over the 10%. By our calculations, individually they wouldn't, but each individually would trigger safe harbor provisions. So just a clarification there.
Thank you. Okay. Please. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Nancy Bradley. I own Dottie Jean's Pet Resort and Daycare Center at 85 Chestnut Street. This is my second meeting with the development going next door, and I can truly say that I trust that what Mr. Engler is saying, he really means. The pool originally, he told me he put on that side so it wouldn't be abutting me. And giving that circumstance, you know, they're at the pool, my dogs are barking, all of that. The development's gonna happen no matter what. I'm there right now. I provide a service that's very important to the towns. We're becoming extinct because of the amount of housing going up, apartments going up. He has expressed nothing but working with me, trying to make this work out, the benefits of us being next to each other. We had a separate meeting. We actually met for lunch. So he's really come forward to try to work with me the best that he can on this property and coexisting next to each other, which I really appreciate. And I just hope that we can continue, I can continue to be a small business in this town. We've done very well. We've had no complaints. We do very well. But you are parking 197 or 96 apartments next to me. I don't care how much you love dogs. Barking's gonna be barking. But he has expressed that he's tried to design the lot so that it does buffer some of that. So everything that we talked about is to try to keep me where I'm at, not to push me out. Where I think the last people that were there were all about them, where I don't get that with Mr. Engler. So I'm looking forward to these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Any comments from the board?
I'll just say it's very encouraging to hear the positive resident feedback thus far, and I commend you for that. And I look forward to hearing more from you guys in the future.
Thank you for all the information you've provided right up front. Really appreciate that. I haven't dug into all of it, but I look forward to that and to the meetings to come.
I'll also say that it is very encouraging to hear positive feedback from residents for a 40B. So that's very good. I don't really have anything else to discuss at this time. I think we're going to get into it over the next handful of meetings and get really into the details at that time.
Thanks. Fran?
I don't have any comments this time. A lot of information to digest. They put a lot of effort into this, which I appreciate. I got a 351-page store management plan for crying out loud. Yeah, the water goes into the catch basin and we put it into here and that's it. It should take 10 pages, not 351.
And he read it, every
Right.
page.
Well, there'll be a quiz next time.
So far, so good. Chris, can we get an idea of sort of the breakdown of the meetings moving forward?
Yeah, so we can prepare a schedule of topics. We're getting the peer reviews are kind of working through, and I can get a schedule for them. What we'll do is we'll circulate that to the applicant and make sure that they're okay with that timeline, and we'll submit that and post that as well once we've got confirmation. So,
Okay.
yeah, typically what we start with is the civil site. Civil stormwater is typically the first to kind of finish up, and then after that, traffic. But we can lay those out again with the consultant feedback.
Okay. And I assume Paul will be our consultant, or we're gonna work on that?
Working on confirming that, yep.
Great, okay. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to say congratulations, very, very well done. Thank you for listening to your neighbors. That's really helpful to us and to our community. I actually like the design of this a lot. I think that you're thinking differently than a lot of developers think, and I applaud you for that. So I really look forward to seeing other things that are going to come out of these meetings. But thank you for just coming forward with such a great presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank the town for their involvement so far and the neighbors for the input. There's more work to do, certainly, but we're willing to continue that process, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we just need to vote to continue.
Oh,
Did you close the public hearing?
no, we don't close the public
Oh, that-
hearing. We're gonna
that's right,
continue.
that's
Can I get a motion to continue
Yeah,
the
do you
hearing,
mind?
please?
We take them?
Motion to continue.
I move to continue that matter until October 27th at 6 PM.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, you want to take a short,
If you don't.
couple-minute
mind,
break?
Before we start the next one?
Sure, we're just going to take a
Thanks.
break for a few minutes. Okay, moving on to the continued hearing from the August 25th meeting. This is to hear the appeal of 104 Main Street, Limited Commercial Business District, the Quinn LLC Comprehensive Permit, Mass General Law 40B, Section 20 to 23, to permit the construction of a 300-unit multifamily residential development. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening. Unless you have something preliminary. Great. For the record, Mark Donahue on behalf of the applicant. To take you back a little bit, in July, we had a chance to review in some detail the plans for the site plan, stormwater system and the like. We also had the benefit at that time of Graves Engineering peer review. The board made a number of comments and suggestions during the course of that and raised some questions, as did Jeff Walsh from Graves and the planning department. What we'd like to do this evening is review the plans that were submitted a couple of weeks ago, which are a revised set of plans responsive to that, or to those various comments. There's also a summary letter dated September 10th, which Mr. Cordero submitted as to those changes also. We are also in receipt as of Friday afternoon of the planner's memo to you, updated from the July 21st one. There is also a response from Mr. Cordero to the July 21st that was submitted on September 10th and can be found in the portal. And we're glad to review those points. So we frankly haven't had a chance to really digest the memo in any great detail yet, but I know it raises some questions for the board's consideration, so we hope that you can spend some time this evening talking through those and we can participate in that discussion. So if there's no immediate matters that make any difference from that, then I'll let Mr. Cordero proceed. Thank you. Bill? Sure.
Can you,
Do you have a plan?
not being allowed to screen share at the moment? Hold on one second. I have not been allowed back into the meeting.
Yeah, it shows that you're in there, but if you want to email me the presentation, I'll try to.
Sure, it's a huge file.
Dropbox.
You want to just run it with a jump drive? Does that work?
I don't know if I have that compatibility on this. You email it to me.
It's huge.
Are you running the show here?
I might get. Do you have a USB for that? A port for USB? Oh, great.
Hang on one second. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. And where do you share on your system? Doesn't allow me to share for some reason.
Hmm?
David, do you want me to just start the discussion?
Yeah,
If you don't mind?
yeah, if you can run it from there.
So I don't have the presentation, but to the board's discretion, I think you have copies of the plans. I'll do my best to narratively describe them with the plans that are in front of you while we work out sort of the technical matters, but in the interest of making some forward progress. For the record, again, Phil Cordero from Allen and Major Associates. As Mr. Donahue pointed out, since our last meeting, we were tasked with dealing with a number of site issues relative to the Graves Engineering review comments, some feedback received from staff and feedback received from this board, and also some feedback received from the fire department. And what we've done is we've encapsulated those in the two letters that Mr. Donahue referenced dated September 10. There are two letters. One of them, the larger, is the Graves Engineering peer review. And the reason it's a larger plan, or excuse me, a larger letter, is there are some drainage calculations associated with it, which, to the member's point, maybe should have only been 2 pages, but it's 120 pages. It's to provide all of the background that Jeff is going to want to make sure that our numbers work. In the Graves Engineering peer review response, the comments were by and large of a technical matter, and to use Jeff's words, he felt that there were no showstoppers at the last meeting, so we would ask for the board to have your consultant review the letter, which I assume he is doing as we speak, and he'll likely comment on them, and I think in the interest of the board's time, we can defer the technical matters to his final say, if that's okay. I'm happy to walk through them with you all. I will say they're quite boring, but we can certainly talk about them. I think the staff comments and the board's comments and the fire department comments are much more applicable to a substantive discussion. What we walked away with from the last meeting is we testified in front of the board that we had parking and loading areas directly in front of the main entrance to the building near our amenity center. We heard from the board that secondary areas, additional loading spaces, really should be provided in the easterly corner of our site because it's sort of a secondary activity center. So what you'll note on the plans that are in front of you, if you're looking at the general site plan in the upper right-hand corner, just to direct everybody to it, we did reconfigure the parking area through that area.
Back down, please. Come down. I'm sorry, go the other way. I'm saying down, or up. Right there. What do you want, the next one, Phil?
So there we are. So now with the plan on the screen. So you'll note in the upper right corner, we've reconfigured our dumpster area. And what that has allowed us to do is, your peer reviewer had made comment on sort of the functionality of the dumpster, functionality of having accessible spaces nearby. We have reconfigured that. Also in that same area, we've added additional spaces that would be available for the high turnover, the Uber, rideshare pickups, Amazon deliveries, anything of that sort that wanted to be more proximate to that portion of the building rather than segregating it to the front door. So that's where our changes had taken place. We made some modification to the number of banked parking spaces that we were asking the board to approve during the last meeting in favor of these permanent spaces that we felt would be better utilized on a daily basis. In addition to those changes, what the board will note is at our two entrances, if you're looking at the image on the screen, you will notice there's sort of some darkened half moon shapes is the best way I can describe them visually. Those are accommodations that were made as part of the ongoing review from the fire department, who had expressed some concern on clearances entering and exiting the site, and that they wanted to absolutely ensure that their emergency apparatus, the largest vehicle that they've given us specifications on, would not be required to cross the center line of any of the internal roadways with the site. Those curbs, those adjustments to the curb allow that to happen. Now what's taking place in that area is we have a standard width driveway, two standard width driveways, both ingress and egress for vehicular cars. But the dark and shaded areas on the side of those is behind a mountable curb that the fire department can roll up on and get access to the site. It is exclusively for the use of their vehicles. And it allows them to remain fully within the single side of the roadway that they have asked us to achieve. We've provided those updated layout plans to the fire department. I believe the last correspondence we got after the update is they wanted us to ensure that where portions of the body overhang of any emergency apparatus equipment would cross over a curb line, that we do not install any any signs, any vegetation that would obstruct that traffic clearance. So our commentary for the board's consideration tonight is we will absolutely agree to that, of course, that there'd be nothing that would obstruct the vehicular movement through there. Now, there are some interferences right at the entry point where we have a sidewalk, whereas the fire truck might be turning into the site, the body clearance may overhang the curb line and would actually sweep over a sidewalk. So that is what we call a plan conflict, meaning when you look at it on the plan, it shows as a clear conflict. The way we speak about them, though, is the reality of the situation, which is if a fire truck is entering the site, pedestrians would make way as necessary, that there would be no direct conflict that would exist in there. And we've asserted that also back to the fire department through the OpenGov portal for their continued consideration. What we don't have yet from the fire department is, at the previous meeting, we did agree to provide gates, locked gates at the entrance to either end of the fire access road that circumnavigates the building. We provided a standard fire gate with what's called a Knox box. A Knox box is an attachment on the gate that has a key within it that only the fire department can access. That key would open a padlock on the fire gate. They would have access around the building. We're still working to get the confirmation from the fire department that they are okay with that gate scenario. It is quite standard, it is quite typical, but we do want to obtain their formal approval that they're okay with the gate as we've suggested. So we do have one little bit of homework that remains outstanding as we're here this evening. In addition to that, we made some modifications to the site plans, really by way of narrative explanation. When I was here last, I presented them to you graphically as part of the slideshow, and those were comments that were received from the engineering department to assert that we can construct our retaining walls without interferences to the Mass DOT layout, which I have asserted, we've noted in the response letters and on the plans, the type and nature of the walls that would be constructed in this location that would allow it to be built without overlap onto properties that we do not own. Behind the retaining wall in the southerly portion of the site, so the plan right, the area directly adjacent to Route 290, we do have some runoff coming down the slope, the side slope of 290 that actually traverses the site under present conditions. We seek to intercept that runoff and redirect it around the site so that way it's not directly running off into the parking area. The engineering department also asked us to confirm the methodology in terms of how that can be constructed without doing work on the state highway layout, and we've provided that back into in the portal for the board's review, as well as town engineer and other town consultants. I think by and large that encapsulates, again, other than the technical matters that we dealt with Graves Engineering, those are the elements that we've incorporated onto the site plans. Previous discussions, we did talk about the replacement of the sidewalk along Quinsigamond. That remains in place. We also included as part of our response the applicant's commitment to work with the town on the complete street sidewalk expansion. So that has now been memorialized in our documentation for both the site civil. You'll also find that in the traffic engineer's response, since sidewalks tend to overlap those disciplines. So the goal for tonight is obviously to answer any questions that the board may have on any of those matters and elaborate as you see fit. But we're working to make sure all of the questions and comments are responded to in a very organized and expedient fashion for you.
If you don't mind, just while we're just one page away from it, if you just turn to the next page, one of the items which we had been asked to work on is Gouch Park. There's a concept plan that you'll see on the next page. We went through about a dozen different plans for this program. Originally, we had a building on it where people could sit out of the sun. We had picnic tables. We changed things around. And we really tried to troubleshoot it so that it became truly a great park without any nuisance value. So when you look at the plan, you'll see what we're doing. And part of this plan involves some work with DPW in the town, because where the entry road is right now, like tonight, you couldn't get into the park because the gentleman had vehicles stored there. But is to take up the existing gravel that's there. We're gonna recompact it. We're gonna pave the area with pervious paving so that it doesn't require separate drainage. We're going to take the existing wooden guardrail that's there. It acts as the buffer to keep people out of the park. I'm gonna put a high granite curb there, so you don't have a barrier as soon as you try to walk into the park. We would be stripping all the existing grass and vegetation from there and reluming it, reseeding it with a higher performing grass mix. Down by the water, we'd like to take that area and put like a riprap stone down by the water's edge, so there's a better area to stand on. And then as you come up into the park itself, we looked at various types of benches, and at the end of the day, we came up with the best possible bench would be a granite block, which is 24 inches, I think, deep, front to back. It's 14 or 18 inches off the ground. It's rough sawn on all sides and sandblasted on the top. And the reason we came up with that is as soon as you started putting different features, they become vandalism targets, skateboarder targets, etc. So we tried to make the park as durable as we could. You'll see some conceptual planting locations. Obviously, those have to be worked out with the town and with the state. The sidewalk on that side is not in great shape. So our goal is to get permission to take that sidewalk out and replace it from the corner down to where the driveway is. And then obviously an ongoing maintenance program where we get to maintain the park so that the town doesn't have to worry about it, and we can make sure the trash is picked up, the lawn is mowed, etc. There is no plan to bring power or water over to the site because we don't want to light the site up at night. So that's the plan we have. The town manager is distributing that, I believe, to Parks and Recreation and DPW, and we're going to work with them to come up with a final concept.
Let's start with comments, questions. Ann, you wanna go?
Sure, I'll start. Thank you very much for your presentation this evening. So I have had a chance to take a look at the comment letters and also all of the other documentation that we've received to date. I want to acknowledge that Massachusetts has a housing crisis and an affordable housing crisis at that. But it's also very important that if we're building housing, it needs to be safe housing. It needs to be safe for the residents. It needs to be safe for the community. At this point, I don't think that the board has enough information from the applicant to show that this project will be a safe place for people to live. I'll start with the fire department issues. So this project is 300 units on less than 6 acres and encompasses a parking garage, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the first parking garage, or perhaps the first residential parking garage that Shrewsbury has had. That brings with it its own fire issues. And when I hear that that the project is proposing that we allow a fire engine to drive over the sidewalk in an emergency, or to stop and unlock something to allow access to this, I don't feel that that's putting the residents in a safe position. So that's as to the residents and the fire department. Also, we still don't have plans that show that the sweep pass is adequate unless there's updated information that I haven't had a chance to review. That's very concerning. I would recommend, go ahead.
Can we try to knock some out as you
Well,
go?
I was gonna, I have some response, but I was gonna just let you finish.
Okay.
Okay,
Why don't you
yeah.
run through your list and then we'll.
Thanks. So if those issues have not yet been resolved, I would recommend that if the board were to approve the project, that we would condition the project on making sure that those fire safety issues were resolved. Then in terms of health and safety to the general public, I don't think that the stormwater situation has been properly resolved. There's insufficient information as to the sewer connection. If we're talking about sewer, a heavy rain event, which could cause sewer discharge that went into the lake. That's a public safety issue that I don't have enough information on just yet to approve this project without a condition. In terms of traffic and pedestrian safety, perhaps the applicant has moved forward on this, but I'm not 100% sure that the applicant has committed to continuing the sidewalk as the town would need. We have already had testimony from the neighbors, and we all have personal experience, that kids, in particular, high school kids, walk up and down this road without the sidewalks. This is going to be putting a large number of extra kids on the street, and I think that's very important that we do what the town needs in terms of connecting the sidewalks to make it at least a little bit more safe. In terms of the traffic information that we've received, and I'm sorry I can't locate it right now, but it's my understanding that there was some information from your traffic expert that there were a certain number of trips that had already been generated by this site in the past. And I know we had testimony from the neighbors, and I have personal experience. My kids are in their 20s, but they went to Shrewsbury Children's Center, and so I would drive down that road every day, twice a day for 6 or 7 years. There was very little, if any, there were almost no trips coming from this site. So I'm not quite sure about that data, and I would be interested in hearing more where you acquired that data from. And in addition to that time, my kids went to the high school, and I would have to drive them up. I don't think for the last 22 years there have been those trips that are cited in your traffic report, and I would really like to hear the foundation for that. So those are my initial impressions on why I don't feel we have information that this project will be a safe one, and I look forward to hearing more about that from the applicant.
Great.
Madam Chair, may I just respond before you move to other members? Just running down the list very quickly to see if I can address some of those. I want to be clear that I don't paint sort of a false picture when I reference the fire truck having to drive over the sidewalk. I am not in any way indicating that the fire truck is driving over a sidewalk, but for those familiar with the fire truck, and we have the graphics on the plans, the front wheels and the front bumper, there's usually several feet between those two, and as the truck is making a turn, sometimes the front bumper will go over the curb line. That is the interaction that I'm referring to, not the perception that the truck is actually going up and over the sidewalk and creating that conflict with pedestrians. Similarly, the gate that we did propose is a standard fire gate we've used in many applications. It is specifically designed for emergency apparatus. It's specifically designed that it's locked and that only the emergency personnel have access to it. The fact of the matter is we will put in whatever gate is acceptable to the fire department. And we are proposing what is the simplest, most straightforward gate that is commonly used. Alternative gates include what's called a crash gate, which means the truck literally drives through it. If the fire chief would like that, prefer that, we're happy to do it. In some cases, the fire departments don't prefer that. Their drivers, and I don't mean to say this, I know I'm on the record, sometimes they're not 100%, so they prefer that the truck is not being exposed to conflict situations. So we will definitely address that, of course.
Just on that point, just to put it in context, the original plans did not show any impediment, physical impediment, for others to use the fire access lane. And board members expressed a concern that it would be used as an alternative means of travel by residents of the unit. So this proposal was in response to that concern, to be able to preclude that, but still allow emergency access. It was not an immediate requirement of the fire department. It's more in response to comments received to the public hearing, so.
Thank you.
With regard to the member's question on stormwater,
We'll have to sweep that.
I'm sorry, thank you. The swept path analysis plan is in the file. It has been revised several times as we continue our conversations with the fire department, with their emergency apparatus, so it is in the system. We would ask you to take a look at it. It is respective of the updated curb line, the center line adjustments, all of those comments that the fire department had asked us to take a look at. It is there. As we move into the next element you had raised, which was stormwater, we did provide a full and complete stormwater evaluation, including water quality, which I know is of paramount importance for this group and for the town, given its proximity to Lake Quinsigamond and the association involved with that. We note that your peer reviewer has thoroughly vetted that, at least initially. He has not provided comments that say the stormwater is inadequate in any way. It meets all of the town of Shrewsbury requirements, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Stormwater Management Handbook requirements, and all of those requirements in total will provide you the protection that you're looking for Lake Quinsigamond, so that there's no unintended consequences of stormwater created by this development. The handling of runoff from Mass DOT is all part and parcel to changing the directional flow, but ultimately it all connects to the same place, which is actually our mandate. Our job is to make sure that the stormwater that's going to particular locations today is also going to those same locations tomorrow, because those feed downstream receptors. Could be a wetland, could be the lake, could be any number of other different things. But we need to make sure that the treatment and the recharge of stormwater is in place. And I will attest to this board that they are. And through your peer reviewer, I look forward to his commentary affirming that on your behalf as the independent third party. The sewer connection is a slightly different animal insofar as the obligation at this preliminary stage is we have indicated to the town engineer and the sewer department our need for a sewer connection into the existing sewer network on Quinsigamond. We have met with him. They have affirmed that the sewer connections are not problematic. They have affirmed that they can connect in multiple locations, as we're showing on the plans. The number one thing that he has indicated to us is the Holden Street Pump Station Administrative Consent Order, which is some capacity-related matters that the town has been challenged with over the last couple of years. He's made us aware of them. The applicant is aware of them. We also understand the town is working to cure those with some remedial action plans that have been filed with Mass DEP. We're all collectively waiting for those improvements. In terms of the material information necessary for a stormwater connection, we do believe we have provided it, meaning that the application narratives do include the amount of gallonage that we're seeking connection for, and the plans do depict the location and methods for connection, as well as the construction details, which are provided from the town DPW department. Obviously, if this project moves forward, when we go to make those formal connections, we will connect with it via sewer permit as issued by the engineering department, which will require that the contractor's license will be put on record. There's certificates of insurance, W-9s, etc. All of the accoutrement that any qualified contractor would need to provide for a connection. So I guess I would apologize if the member does not think there's adequate information in there, but it's certainly information that is there. I can certainly reinforce it. We can clarify it if it's somehow lost in the several hundred pages of materials necessary for a project of this size. But we do want to make sure that it is there and it is on the records. Lastly, I won't speak about traffic. I'm not the traffic engineer, so I will defer that. But as I mentioned during my brief introduction, the introduction on the addition of sidewalks, obviously the replacement of the sidewalk in front of our site, the additional sidewalk in front of Gouch Park is being necessary, and also some monetary contributions to the Complete Streets program, which completes the sidewalk network, which was part of the discussions with the town. So we have now provided all of those on record to address the sidewalk concerns that the member had raised. So.
Thank you.
Final piece as far as the trip generation, that was based on information provided by the seller and the historical uses as to the number of employees that the companies had that were leasing there. It does not, that place can lay dormant for periods of time because a lot of the activity and the staging that goes on there
is tied to contracts. So at any point in time, that could be loaded up for operations in the night, or they could be, or it could sit empty again. So at the time we were last in there, I believe we counted 40 tractor trailers or more. So it may not be individual cars all the time, but it is tractor trailers, school buses, old fire trucks, all kinds of different things were parked in there. And at one point in time, it was a gravel mine. So there was frequent trucks coming then. So you may not have seen the cars coming out of there like they were queued up, but that's the historical information we have, and we can talk to our traffic engineers if they have more questions, but I don't think your traffic engineer raised any challenges to it, but we're happy to look into it again.
Just to that point, and I might stand corrected because I'm trying to work from memory also, and I didn't come with the report this evening. But I think that Mr. Dirk's report refers to the historical, but also indicates for the purpose of his analysis, he did not take in any mitigation for the historical use at all. So he's looking at it as if it's being built on a virgin site as far as trip generation for his report.
Thank you.
His trip reports are based actually on true counts that are made, and that's how they come up with their data. It's not based on anything that somebody can say, I saw 30 cars or I saw this. It's the physical counts that they get, the data they run, and then they have to prove it out, so.
Thank you. I'll reserve the remainder of my comments.
Thank you for the comments.
Would the guy to go next? Fran?
Yeah, I have a couple of problems. One is I'm not quite sure I understand the swept path of the tower in relation to parked cars. You're telling me that there is no way a parked car can obstruct the tower from getting to where it has to get. Is that what I understand? Or are we gonna cross over parking spaces to get to where the tower has to go? Can someone clarify that?
Sure. So through the chair, the swept path analysis does not conflict with parked cars. So it clears all parked cars throughout the site. If I may, what the fire department's concern, or one of the comments that the fire department had provided, there is a provision in the National Fire Protection Association regulations, NFPA 1. There is a byline that the fire truck would not be required to cross the center line of a roadway in responding to an emergency. In certain circumstances, fire trucks, quite frankly, they can do whatever they want. But in this situation, they want to ensure that they can enter the site while other people can be evacuating the site, and never the two shall meet. So both of those can happen independently. On our original swept path analysis provided with the application, as the fire truck was entering into the site, it did cross the center line. Now, in our case, it's an internal driveway, so there is no striped center line on an internal driveway. But if you imagine splitting the 24-foot drive aisle down the middle, that is the center line. But as the truck was coming in, it would cross that center line. And that's what they've asked us to review, and that's what resulted in the revision on the plans that are in front of you now and in the portal. So the truck does not cross that center line, but in no case does it conflict with parking spaces.
I don't care if it crosses the center line. The other thing that really bothers me is there's no sewer connection here yet. What I understand from your response is that the town appears to be a few weeks away from having a DEP plan approved curing the CO issues. What does that entail? Do we have to improve downstream sewer lines?
Correct. So the town has in place a revised consent order. Apologize, I'm a little bit, I don't have all the technical terms on this one down. But essentially what it does, it lays out a plan that the town will have to do necessary improvements to the water and sewer infrastructure. So the town is actively pursuing that at this time.
Actively pursuing engineering and construction of these improvements?
Design and construction and
Design and
implementation
construction.
on the timeline of that plan. So we are required on certain timelines to meet for DEP. and the town is actively working towards that at this time, so.
Then we assume that the town begins the work. To me, this requires Shrewsbury to do a lot of things before they can connect.
So just
And
to,
we're paying for all those improvements so that this thing can connect.
yeah, so
Without this, we wouldn't need to be doing this.
we would, so.
Okay,
so
thank you, Chris, yeah.
So to clarify, so the town has to, as part of that DEP administrative consent order, the town is already working towards those improvements. How that factors into the timeline of this project,
Yeah,
given the timeline, it should line up, but we will,
I don't want to be beholden to wheel lock if we're 6 months or a year late getting some improvement done and they can't occupy or connect. I don't want that becoming Shrewsbury's problem.
yes, so I think that's probably the bulk of that comment is to have the applicant aware of that constraint. And, we would potentially need to work, if needed, depending upon the timeline of their occupancy and the timeline of that DEP. So it should line up, but that is a should, not a necessarily will, so.
How's your crystal ball? Mine's cloudy. I still don't, and I may not have seen something to that effect, but up at Old Mill and Ireta Road, I haven't seen anything more than we want to do this and do that and make left turns and right turns restricted in that area. I haven't seen any more. I object to that. I think Ireta Road should go left and right. I don't care. I mean, you want them all to go right, well, that's not going to work, in my view. They have to be able to access the center of town without having to go all the way down. That's my view. I'm done. Thank you.
Dave?
I share a lot of the same concerns as my fellow members of the board. I'll start with the fire apparatus and the swing conversation, I guess we'll call it. Because it sounds like, the issue from the fire department was it wasn't gonna, not that it wasn't gonna fit, but that it wasn't gonna fit per code and per Massachusetts code. But then you reoriented the drive aisle in the rear, and then there's the question of like, well, it has to go, you have to have the front bumper swing over the curb, and like, what if there's an object there, like a pole, and we're having all of this discussion. It doesn't make me feel great about like, what if this thing's actually on fire, right? And if I ask you the question, is the access big enough? The answer sounds like yes, but it sounds like it's a narrow yes, like it's like a barely yes. And so I guess I'm just having trouble reconciling that, because we're talking about 300 units, which is gonna be, 300 or more people.
600 people.
It could be 600, I don't know, there's obviously a distribution of studios and one bedrooms and what have you.
Hundreds of people.
Right, so it's our responsibility to ensure that you all are
Sure.
partaking in your responsibility.
So if I could suggest, there's a separate slide on the sweep path, so maybe it's worth pulling it up and walking through granularly the technical issues with
Yep.
regard to crossing an imaginary center line against the practical part, which is adequate access in the event of a calamity. So to your question, which is more, can you actually get in there? So do you know what?
Do you mind paging forward about probably 8 pages there, if I'm not mistaken? Keep going. Keep going. Keep going, right there. I'm not.
So you just want to kind of walk people through what they're looking at and what it's, particularly what the highlighted areas are and what we've worked on?
So this is a graphic of the swept path analysis. It is not the exact swept path analysis that is on the site plans that has been submitted to the board, to the fire department, et cetera. I just want to establish that the blue shaded areas are what we are denoting as the permissible paths for the Tower 1 aerial to circumnavigate the entirety of the site both to the garage, to the rear of the building, to the clubhouse area, and to be able to get in and out. So these blue designate where that path actually works. Now, where this graphic falls a little short, and I don't mean to be at all confusing, but I just don't want to paint any false narratives or have the board develop any false interpretations of this plan, is on the lower entrance, the one further south on Quinsigamond, when that fire apparatus was coming in to make the right turn, that is the area that I was speaking about a moment ago where it was crossing that center line. So if you use that blue shaded area to indicate half of the traveled lane, the truck would need to swing out into the left lane, so vehicles exiting the site, in order to make that maneuver. That's what we have corrected as part of these revised drawings. This plan doesn't show it as exacting as, I apologize, bear with me, please. Sheet 601, which is in the board members' packages, where we have highlighted in color the wheel path of the fire truck. We've highlighted the bumper path of the fire truck. We use a software called Vehicle Movement Plan. It's also called AutoTurn. It's widely used within the engineering world, and it simulates the movement of certain vehicles, including fire apparatus. And that's what we have relied upon here, and we've provided it to the board and to the members, and obviously your peer review. We want to depict full compliance with NFPA, which we do. Everything that's on here is fully compliant with the NFPA. It is not narrowly compliant, it is fully compliant, so I don't want to suggest that we're skirting the margins on it. Sometimes the reality of site development is that whatever the fire department wants and is willing to accept, we're happy to provide it for them. If you went to any number of shopping plazas, I guarantee if you drew an imaginary center line, the fire truck probably crosses that path. Would that be in conformance with the NFPA? Probably not if you looked at it to the exact letter of the detail. The fire department in this case for this site wants us to meet all of those specifications. We are happy to do that. We have done that here. If they were comfortable with the swept path analysis crossing the center line, that is their jurisdiction, that is their authority to accept it as they see fit. We want nothing more than to have a safe site for all of the residents here as well.
So the problem with crossing the center line is if you've got evacuating traffic, now you're bump like this, right? Fire truck, cars, because you're way out in their lane, or out in their lane.
Sir, that is exactly the matter.
Okay.
Is if they're turning and somebody's trying to leave, that person cannot leave until the truck completes the maneuver. Now, obviously, it's not a long-term maneuver. Once they make the turn, off they go. But the reality is that conflict exists. We've removed that.
And a lot of people trying to get the heck out because the place is on fire.
Yes, yeah. Which also, we've provided the fire access lane around the rear of the building. That was a paved roadway that was requested by the fire department. It is exclusive for the fire department. I did speak with the chief when we were working through the design as to whether or not they would want to allow that for part of an egress path, meaning the fire department's coming in one way, the residents can leave the other way, and that conflict is resolved automatically. I don't want to speak hearsay for them, but they don't want that. They want the road to be exclusively for them, which is fine. That's their fire operational needs. We're happy to provide that. So we need to make sure everybody can get in and out at the same time. The mountable curb that we've provided certainly does that.
If you look at page 5 of the comments that we received on Friday, you'll see that staff makes a note in its staff response, and they address, and they go right down the issues that it is fully compliant. And the reminder there is more for when we do our final construction documents, when we go to the building department, is to triple check, make sure that you haven't stuck something in the landscape plan that all of a sudden blocks where the truck could possibly have a swing issue, where the bumper could go over. You don't want to put a light pole right where that swing issue is, that type of thing. But we've gone numerous discussions, all kinds of changes, and I think we've fully complied with the chief's comments so far, so.
And will continue to do so.
Okay. I have nothing else at this time.
Okay.
You mentioned the dumpster area was reconfigured, and I do see that on the plan up here. Can you just walk us through that reconfiguration a little bit more closely?
Certainly. So through your peer review consultant had suggested, sorry, taking one step back. On the original plans, we had only provided a single parking space adjacent to the dumpster. Your peer review consultant had suggested that given the number of potential residents here who would likely bring the trash either as they're coming in or going out of the site, we need more parking available for them.
Yep.
So for the trash and refuse area. So we reconfigured the dumpster to make sure there were more parking spaces back there on a permanent basis. They would likely not be fully realized, fully occupied all the time because they're actually remote and all of the residents will park within the garage. But we added not only the ADA space, but 3 or 4 generally accessible spaces for the residents. We also changed the rotation of the garage, the rotation of the dumpster because of those space changes, just to make sure it can adequately be picked up and retrieved by refuse haulers.
Right.
So.
And are those spaces, are they dedicated for, are there gonna be like, is there gonna be signage dedicating that for dumpster only, or no?
No.
Okay.
No, we anticipate if anybody's going there, it's for a few moments.
Yeah.
That's it. We will have one space parked, so thank you to whomever changed the slide on us. If you look where it says proposed dumpster enclosure in the upper right portion of the screen, thank you, and then the 3 spaces just to the left of that. We do have a sign right at that lowest space. That's one of our Uber Eats, rideshare pickup, pick me up at the garage. We're going to designate that as a short-term parking location, much like we have at the front of the site. And we also, as part of the feedback we received, the group felt that those spaces would not, there was no connectivity to the garage, so we've obviously enhanced the sidewalk network to make sure that anybody parking back there can connect via sidewalk through a marked crosswalk to get to the garage, to get to the building.
Okay. Most of my concerns have already been brought up, but I'll reserve comment for later discussion if we need it.
I want to go back to I'm going to go now. The loading, the dumpster area. I'm not sure that I'm going to get the answer I'm looking for, but I still cannot wrap my mind around how 300 people are going to get rid of trash and not have some constant kerfluffle over there. I don't see it, I don't understand it. It just doesn't seem to be, it's on the opposite side of where people are living, so that remains a concern of mine. The loading areas, we all know Uber Eats is here to stay. You have 300 units, you're gonna have Uber Eats, FedEx, UPS, private companies. I just don't see that the loading areas are going to be adequate enough to support the size of the community. Traffic. I'm still, I understand about the mountable sidewalks for the fire trucks. I would guess you're gonna find that cars are gonna be using those as well. Because to me, trying to get in and out of there, at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning, it's gonna be really hard. And so, again, I'm not sure that you're gonna ever give me the answer that I'm looking for, but I think it's gonna be a disaster getting in and out of your site on a busy day. The circular nature of the site or lack thereof, again, I understand and respect the desire from the fire department to have an area exclusive to fire trucks, emergency vehicles. I just think that lacking a circular site plan for a community this large is short-sighted.
Excuse me, could you explain what you mean by circular?
it's gonna be hard, I think, getting in and out, given that you have two driveways right next to each other. So you're gonna have to make, if I'm coming from, if I'm gonna make a right onto North Quincy, I'm gonna have two choices. Do I take the first left in, or do I take the second left in? And that,
No.
no, I'm saying you're coming from Worcester, you're at the light where you're gonna turn right onto North Quincy.
Okay.
And you're
coming
gonna
south on
decide-
North Quincy.
No, you're at the light where Holden Street is on your left. You're heading out of Worcester into Shrewsbury. You're at the light.
Mm-hmm.
You're turning right
Onto North Quincy.
onto North Quincy,
Headed south.
heading south on North Quincy. Thank you.
Yep.
In my mind, I would be playing the game every time. Do I take the first left or the second left? And I still am not convinced that once you're on the site, it's not going to feel like you're stuck in a tight quadrant that you can't get out of. It just, the site just feels so compacted to me and nowhere to go. I'm not an engineer. I'm probably not explaining this in terms that make any sense to any of you, but my general consensus is that it's just a tight, there's a lot of people living in one area that's just not gonna feel right to me.
Phil, what is, excuse me, what's the distance between the two driveways there?
Let me check for you.
The nice part about it is, as you mentioned, you do have the ability to make a choice. Do you want to take the first driveway or the second driveway? Our traffic engineers, our planners, our civil engineers all feel very comfortable that the plan as designed will flow nicely. It is a rental product. If we don't make our clients happy, they leave. So from that standpoint, we have to make it work, and it has to work nicely for them. Previously, somebody had made a suggestion of, in the morning hours, maybe it was you, Madam Chair, no right turn out of the northernmost driveway. And I think we dropped that onto the plan as an idea to put in place. So I think the flow, we feel very, very good about it. Developing a site at this location, we think with the highway access, the major roads that are there, with the engineers, the traffic engineers, with MassDOT, they feel it fits. So we wouldn't be making the investment we are if we didn't feel very comfortable that the flow would work, but totally understand your concern. We'll continue to work on it.
Yeah, I think if it was 150 units, it would be a different story, but it's not, it's 300.
It would be less traffic with 150. We would not be here.
I have other questions, but I think I'm gonna save them for future meetings. I don't wanna, anybody else have anything tonight?
Just a couple more things, sorry.
Sure.
So just referencing the staff comments, I won't go through all of them, but there are some very, very serious issues brought up in there. I'll just highlight a few, which I forgot to mention before. The lack of any amenity for loading and unloading school children on buses on Quincy. Or, like, I understand that the bus can't come into the development, but this is, you're raising your finger. I'm hoping that you're gonna say you've solved that problem. Okay, yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Sure. There's two options. We can, number one, the school does not want the school bus coming off the highway. The traffic engineers do not want the school buses coming off the road. They prohibit it. They don't want them coming into the property. They would like the school bus to stop in front of the property, which stops all the traffic in the area, and the kids come on. The recommendation that was made by staff was for us to make arrangements with our leasing company to provide an area within the amenity space where kids could sit. If we went into our amenity spaces, there's gonna be all kinds of places where the kids can sit and they can watch for the school bus. If the board would like, we could also put a small bus area, a little bus stop closer to the road. It's up to the board. Those are all things that we're happy to have conditioned, and we can put them on the final plans. If it's a school bus stop, great. Tell us where you want it. We'll come up with a plan.
and we can do it, but it's definitely something that could be conditioned, but we feel that having the amenity space where it's located in the leasing office there, that it will be a great place for parents and for their kids to wait.
It's an interesting idea, just having had children myself. If the amenity space is inside the building and the bus arrives, the kids are gonna run across the parking lot. Like, doesn't sound like a safe plan to me, but you can think about it. But anyway, it's another thing that we need some more information.
If I may, so we've anticipated that if they use the amenity area, that the kids would leave. They won't run across the parking lot. We do have a dedicated crosswalk. Oh, Chris has the screen up. So we would have a dedicated crosswalk there with the sidewalk that brings them out to Quinsigamond. So part of the operations, it's a learning experience for the parents, for the children, the operators of the site. But that would take them from the building to the street to be picked up by the school bus. We don't anticipate cars going back and forth heavily, so it's sort of sandwiched between the two entrances. As Madam Chair had pointed out a few moments ago, people will ultimately make a decision which entrance they're going to use, and not during school bus in the mornings or in the afternoons come in at the northerly entrance to drive simply by the building to go by the southerly entrance and wrap around the building. We just don't think that conflict will exist operationally. But it is, we do have the area designated though.
Thank you. Also, the required reports, is there going to be a public service and fiscal impact analysis?
Excuse me?
Will there be a public service and fiscal impact analysis provided to us?
What specifically are you looking for in that?
Well, the impact on the community, the fiscal impact on the community. We've seen it in other 40Bs.
It's not really necessary at this time unless you're making a determination that you want to make a broad stroke and reduce the number of units. I mean, the impact is going to most likely be positive because, number one, we're providing what's one of the major goals of the town: provide housing, provide affordable housing, provide positive revenue. I think the impact study is, if the board chooses to do one, but I don't believe it's required at this point, and there would have to be some type of finding that an impact study is required. Mr. Haverty could probably speak to it best.
Can I give some clarifying statements? Just in terms of the bus stop, I think there's some kind of misunderstanding of the staff comment on that. In terms of the interior amenity space, that wasn't what we were referencing. Typically with these larger projects, what we look to see happen is with the amenities street side. We say rather than a bus stop, some kind of amenity package, whether it's someone having lunch by the sidewalk or, certainly, we're doing it for school children as well, but we want to be comprehensive to the site. So just looking at that amenity package, and if there's opportunity at the street side to provide benches or shelter or some kind of amenity space to facilitate that. I think that's kind of what the conversation alluded to, but I just want to make that clarification. In terms of the impact and reports that were identified in the staff report, so the applicant has requested waivers from those, and so that was the community fiscal impact analysis. Sorry, I'm gonna grab the letter and I'll review the other three that were on there. And I think my question for the board this evening would be to review if those are necessary for this project or if the applicant should provide them. And if they are to be provided, that those, we can discuss the scope of those. In terms of the fiscal impact and community impact analysis, typically what's provided is the fire service, emergency response calculations of what those fees are based on a formula, as well as generated school children based on a formula. Those are all the highest community expenses for fiscal impact. And those are balanced with the property tax rate increase and the vehicle excise tax, which are the two most substantial revenues that the community sees. Typically, in granting waivers for these reports, we do see in lieu some kind of a narrative that at least gets at either the applicability of it or some kind of broad brush look at what those impacts are. Again, being a 40B process and not a regular planning board process in terms of the fiscal impact and community benefit, those are not necessarily something that the board can base a decision on. So the value of to the board may be up for discussion. But I'll grab the letter with the additional reports.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Haverty?
if I could address that, fiscal impact studies are something that I always recommend boards stay away from. And the main reason is because the biggest driver of the fiscal impact is school and school impacts, and that is something that is basically a third rail for a board to actually try to get involved in. It's not a legitimate basis for either approving or disapproving of affordable housing development, then it's not a legitimate basis for conditioning an affordable housing development. So if you ask for it and you receive it and you try to use it in your decision, it could lead to a fair housing claim against the board. So I don't recommend it. What I can say is that generally speaking, rental developments that are mainly 1 and 2 bedrooms with the 10% 3-bedroom that's required under Chapter 40B tend to have a positive fiscal impact. And I can provide this board a copy of a fiscal impact study that was done on a project in Chelmsford, when I was involved in when I was town council in Chelmsford. It was a non-40B project, so it was something that was allowed. It was presented by the applicant because they wanted to convince the town to adopt rezoning to allow their project to move forward. Similar number of units, and it did show a net positive fiscal impact. So if you'd like, I can provide you a copy of that, just so you have some sense. But at the end of the day, it's not something you want to require the applicant to submit because it can only get you into a bad spot.
To Mr. Haverty's point, if it's of interest to the board, either Mr. McGoldrick or I can dig it out, but there was a fiscal impact report submitted in 2018 to the town as part of the rezoning of the Edgemere site, and which was 250 units of mixed-use housing. So we could at least get you that so you can see what it looks like for edification. But having said that, if there's a particular concern about some particular component in there, putting aside particular, I'd suggest, following Mr. Haverty's advice, stay away from children, then tell us what it is, and we'll get you that information rather than argue about whether it's a report or not.
And sorry, just the reports that are the waiver from, so it's the public service and fiscal impact analysis, community impact report, and then the long-term monitoring plan, which is related to the affordable component. So,
And just as to the last one, we would suggest that it might make more sense to make that a condition of approval at some point later in the development, when an actual, monitoring agency can be selected and a little bit more specific than right now, which is, some distance away from having actually somebody engaged.
Thank you.
I just have to loop back to two things. The complete street, working on the sidewalks. Can you give me an idea of, when we talk about sidewalks, what is in your mind as in terms of improvement? What area are you expecting to improve?
Right now, the area that we were asked to improve is from the intersection of Main Street and North Quinsigamon to the end of our property to 290, to take up the existing sidewalks that are there and replace them with new sidewalks. It's also been suggested, and we asked, if we could maintain the property between the back of the sidewalk, well, actually the sidewalk, we actually would like to take it from the curb to our property so that we could keep a uniform and landscape look all along there. Because when you go and you watch the kids whether it's the St. John's and the Shrewsbury High kids running, or you go and watch them come off the bus. They don't use the sidewalk on our side of the street. Whether it's running, and you can stand there and watch, it makes no sense, but they're running in the traffic. And there's sidewalks on the other side. So will a restored sidewalk help? I definitely think so. I also think the fact that they'll be running or walking along a sidewalk that is nicely landscaped, it'll have a more comfortable feel than being up against some scrub bushes when you don't know what might come out of the bushes type of thing. But we're going to restore that sidewalk. We would also like to fix the sidewalk at the corner by Gouch Park, as we mentioned. We would also, the streetscape, we were advised that there's about 1,000 to 1,100 linear feet of bituminous sidewalk and curb that's not accounted for in the plan. And would we contribute to that? And we'd probably put a value on that, and we would, if all the conditions are reasonable, we would contribute to that. So that will give you sidewalks in our area. The area along Main Street, Mass DOT sidewalk, we're going to hopefully enter into an agreement which would allow us to maintain that whole strip of property, the sidewalks, the grass, if you want to call it grass, maintain that area in a landscape fashion. And we had a meeting this afternoon with them, very, very positive. This state is willing to work on any of the improvement ideas that the traffic engineers have come up with. They're willing to work on helping us help the town be eligible for grants to do other things because it would come in conjunction with housing, which is obviously the governor's #1 priority. So all those things are in motion, and it was great to be on with Mass DOT and have such a big team on from your side and from their side, and to say, we'll expedite it, we'll work.
So you felt that it was a positive meeting and there was representation from the town?
Town manager was the assistant town manager in charge of operations. Keith was there. Chris was there. DPW director was there. Was there another gentleman? Town engineer. There was at least 4 or 5 individuals from the town, at least 4 or 5 from Mass Highway, and then there was 4 from our team.
Thank you, that's helpful. And then Gouch Park, so is your intention, all of the improvements that you're discussing, that's on you, that your intention is?
So I don't want to delve too far into the Gouch Park. So as it was represented, town staff is in receipt of the concept plan. We reviewed it, and I think we'll have some comments back in relation to that. I think it shows progress towards that commitment, which we're happy to see. But I think there's still some more conversation to be had before that matures. So, and then just in relation to the complete streets, as was mentioned, we do, at the meeting this afternoon, we did briefly discuss a dollar amount contribution to that, to those improvements. I just wanted to clarify, because you had mentioned that it's the improvement of the frontage of the sidewalk, but looking at the plans, the sidewalk improvements are limited to the entranceways. So I just wanted to clarify, are we talking about improvements along the entirety of the frontage, or just as shown on this plan, and then the $42,000 contribution
Separate
from that?
Yeah, the 42,000 is completely separate. That's what we call streetscapes. We are planning to take it from the corner all the way down to where our property terminates. So it's the frontage all the way along.
So
From end to end, if I may, because we drew the plans, the scope that's shown, that's the minimum we need to do for the driveways to close the existing curb cuts, et cetera. But obviously, the applicant is end to end of the project.
Thank you.
Just a couple of points, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
When you talk about the impacts, we did a quick, very, very quick back of the envelope calculation, and we are estimating right now that the real estate taxes, not including the vehicle excise tax, which can be $150,000, $200,000 item all on its own. But the real estate taxes over what you receive today from that property, real estate taxes off the top of my head presently about $7,400. Real estate taxes from this development, when complete and fully stabilized, will be in somewhere between $900,000 and $1 million a year. So very, very strong revenues, which should offset any impacts. Obviously, the Gouch Park project, which is not going to be a small lift. You know, we're anticipating that we're gonna spend somewhere between $125,000 and $200,000 to get Gouch Park into condition that the town manager and the DPW can support. The ongoing maintenance of that has significant value. The other things that we're going to be contributing to on a fair share basis, traffic issues, obviously the sidewalks and the sidewalks in front of our property. So there's a lot of really positive things we think should help the town see their way to suggest we keep moving this forward, and maybe we start talking about how you'd like to go. I mean, I don't think there's any more information that we owe to the town at this point, other than possibly coming up with a bus shelter in a location, which we can do with a quick sketch and a detail. We'll probably make that, we'll do a little bit of research on that shelter, because some people don't like it to be enclosed on 3 sides or even 1 side. They prefer that it just be a rain shelter, and that way it doesn't pick up graffiti and people can see their kids, but yet they're out of the rain, in the snow. But other than that, I really think we're probably pretty close to the point where discussing conditions and waivers, and I don't think that there's anything that the board couldn't condition. Obviously someday you would like to get to safe harbor sooner than later, so we'd like to get approved sooner than later. So that's the route you choose.
Any additional comments? You want to hear from the audience? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Public hearing, if you would like to step forward and you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Denise Wall, and I've been a resident of Shrewsbury my whole life. I
Where
have
do you live, ma'am?
I have a rental property on 327 North Quincy, across from where this location is going to be. My other residence is also in Shrewsbury as well. As we've talked this evening and listened, and thank you for all your extensive information, I think all of our concern is the size of this proposal. Just the thought of where it is and the location to 2 high schools, not just 1, but 2. It's across the street from a beautiful scenic lake that I think we haven't really spent enough time talking about. The integrity of North Quinsigamon Ave. I just feel that the enormity of this project is oversized for a 6-acre lot. From what I remember when I was younger, and Shrewsbury allowed 1/4-acre lots for homes to be built on. I understand this is a 40B project, but that would have been about 25 houses, and now we're looking at having 300 300 apartments with maybe the potential for 900 people to live there, adults and children. It just doesn't make sense. And then, I think we're ignoring that 300 apartments could be 600 cars with spouses or, cohabitants. And the thought of having, like the last meeting I went to, potentially only 7 cars in a queue just doesn't make sense to me. I think we're receiving inaccurate information. I just happened to drive through town today. It so happened that my travels took me on Route 20 towards Edgemere Crossing. Then I went through the center of town, Lake Street to the center of town, down to South Street. And at every intersection, especially Edgemere Crossing, I would have to say without exaggeration, at 4 o'clock, there was between 40 and 30 cars from the intersection to Lake Street, past the GLC, if you're familiar with the area, past the GLC. There was a couple buses which actually extend that traffic pileup, and there was literally about 40 cars in that queue. Then we get to the four-way intersection at the center of town. Every single, roadway was full of cars. Then we get down to Central 1. South Street had to have been 20 cars. And we haven't even broken ground on the thought of this potential 300-unit apartment complex. So that is my concern. I was here for the August 25th, conversation here, and the thought of a whole town's students driving through this area at 7:30 in the morning or departing at the end of the day is a concern. They're young drivers, and it's just not that population on North Quincy. It's our whole town, children or teens driving. So all of this is a huge concern of mine. Also, the integrity of what's left of the residential area to our town. This is a beautiful corner of Shrewsbury. And I'm not sure seeing a 300 apartment unit is what we want to see. Like I said, it's across the street from Lake Quinsigamon. And I think we need to keep the integrity of that location. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else? The gentleman in the back raised his hand first, so I'm going to ask him. You could state your name and address for the record, please.
Mike Vizzo. I live on 8 Tamarack Lane. Good evening. My concerns with the project, I know it's going to go to 40B. There's nothing the town can do about it. But one of my concerns is the traffic, especially during construction of the building. I've been in the trade 40 years. And when we have the rowing teams come, it's Saturday, Sunday, they line the sides of North Quincy. I'd like to see something put in place that the construction in your laydown area, your construction workers, your laydown area can't park, because we're going to spend almost 2 years of construction. So we're not going to be able to get out of our roads. Safety concern for ourselves also with the fire department. So I'd like to see something put. I talked to Chris at the meeting we had over here. He said, here's where you bring it up. So we're bringing it up. And then my other concern is, I thank you for wanting to beautify Gouch Park, but I don't think the town should be giving up that piece of land to a development across the street. And what's going to happen is you're going to go in there, you're going to beautify it. First of all, a lot of people fish there and go down in the morning and have coffee. Once you put your stones in, you're going to destroy the fishing area. Like Lowe's destroyed all the smelt coming into us because they were allowed to modify Coal Mine Brook. When you put your stones there, it's very shallow. There won't be any fishing, and I'm afraid before you know it, there'll be no trespassing signs. So I don't think the town should give up the town land. You're going for a hostile 40B.
So I just want to clarify on that point. So the intention is to have the applicant improve Gouch Park. It would still remain in the control of the town. It would still be a public park. In relation to some of the details, I don't want to. We've only seen conceptual plans, and I don't want to kind of get into some of the comments that I've seen from staff at this stage because they're still being finalized. But by and large, it is really looking at, we recognize that there's the fishing community there, and we want to make sure that the park is geared towards existing local uses rather than potential new uses. So really gearing some of the elements towards that. So again, I think there'll be conversation on the details of Gouch Park, and I think that design is a necessary part will change from what was presented, but happy to hear that the applicant is working towards that, so.
Can I,
Okay, thank you.
can I speak to his other
Good.
question?
Please.
You were at one of the meetings before and you raised the issue about construction vehicles.
Construction pocket
Yeah,
vehicles, yes.
and we're required, and the staff already made a suggestion on a condition that we have to submit to the building department, a construction management team, report, which will show our schedule, where we're gonna stage materials, where we're gonna park employees, how we're going to handle keeping mud from going off, that requires to do wash wells and everything. So they're already requiring it, and it is a condition, and you're absolutely right, it is critical to make sure that we don't just go having people park up and down the street. So we have to deal with it formally.
Yeah, because it's gonna be a big project going on, and you got a small piece of land, and I understand your constraints that you're gonna have to be dealt with.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Hello, my name is Ali Kafel, 17 Swan Circle. My concerns are similar to some of the previous speakers. It's around traffic and congestion. I don't live very far away from this site. And right now, when you try to get off the highway from 290 to Main Street, during rush hour, it's impossible, right? There's no light there. Now, to have a development with 300 units, whether it's 600 people, 900 people, who knows? It's just gonna be absolutely nuts. So that's my biggest concern. I would like to know if there has been any conversation about doing a better traffic control, maybe a light, maybe to put a light there to make it safer for people to get off the highway and get on the highway. Because even right now, trying to get off the highway or get on the highway is pretty dangerous. And with the added traffic, it's going to be even more so. So that's my area of concern right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mary Dion, 323 North Quincy. I abut the project. I did meet with Dave today before this meeting. We seen the kids jogging up in for crew. And I pointed out to him the trailer trucks that were coming around the corner. Why the kids are jogging on that side, again, I think it's a coaching issue that could be addressed, that we should tell the coaches to have them go on the other side. But the trailer trucks that were coming, we're not going into that project. I said to Dave, those trucks are going down to White City or the post office. So I think a lot of the traffic information that was given the last meeting wasn't accurate. I remember when they ran that strip across the road, and I think whatever they picked up, they assumed was all going in there, not the post office and White City and Whole Foods. With the fire truck, so they're gonna enter and exit the same area?
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
Would I,
Please.
Madam Chair? They have the ability to enter and exit on either site driveway. We're not dictating where they have to go.
So they would exit and enter the same?
No, they could enter or exit through either driveway. Thank you, Chris, for changing the plan on the screen. So you'll note that they can enter or leave whichever way they want. So if they were coming where the cursor is now, they could enter in there, they could go around the building and then leave through that entrance, or they could leave on the northerly one. It's totally at their discretion. Both driveways support whatever movement the fire department wants to make.
And would they have to go around the whole building in order to leave?
The Tower 1 would need to go around the full building, yes. And we discussed that at great length with the fire department. Engine 3, which is the smaller first responder vehicle, we made sure there are accommodations that those can make turnarounds within the site without having to go around the building, but Tower 1 would go all the way around.
Now, I believe near the entrance is the transformers or Selco. Is that gonna be an issue with the fire trucks?
So we have not firmed up the exactness of the transformers with Celco. We still have to work through that. We're showing them schematically in their location, both in terms of quantity and size, so we'll work through that. But if they were to be in that location, they don't impede any path of travel for the fire truck. They don't impede sight distances for any vehicles, including the fire trucks, entering or leaving the site.
So there'll
they
be enough-
can work there.
Enough space for them to get around them without having any kind of accident.
That's correct. The transformers exist certainly off the driveway. They're protected behind curbs. They would not be exposed to vehicular traffic at all. The transformers, though, would be protected by bollards as required by the code in the event they're struck by a wayward vehicle, but they're off the path of travel.
I'm glad to hear that you're willing to accommodate what the fire department needs, because that's very important. A building that size, we'd have a disaster on our hands. We don't need the governor having another speech like she had to do a couple months ago. Dave also shared with me there was a meeting with Mass DOT. So with the right lane, when you exit the building, the traffic survey, whatever, we said that it needs to be a right only if you're coming out towards Main Street to get onto 290. That,
The right only in that corner there, I think we were going to, I don't know what it says right now on there, but I believe it was recommended by, the chair made the recommendation in the morning hours that we designate, right turn only, left turn only, so that we don't, they don't add to the problem. Your question, I believe,
is about adding the lane, the needed third lane for that right only.
Intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would think that would need to be done. You said the DOT was responsive before construction, or?
No, it wasn't tied to construction at all. It's just, it's an existing condition which needs to be looked at. Our traffic engineers, their traffic engineers, and the collective read on it that I got today was that we provided them with a pile of information. They're going to look at it. They think it's, just from a 35,000-foot level, the recommendations of the traffic engineers were responsive, were professional, and had some good ideas that they need to look at. But it does look like, from a common sense standpoint, that a right turn lane would make life way better, whether or not we build apartments or not.
Right, it's a very short distance. And then with the entrance and the exit to the building, I get exactly what the chair is saying. So you're coming down from Main Street, you take that right onto North Quincy, you got two driveways that people can take a left. It's a wide street, but it's not gonna be able to accommodate, you've seen a little bit today, there wasn't really a lot of traffic, but I can see people dodging, people trying to take that left.
I think, people will, if I was coming down that road and I had my choice, I'd probably go for the second exit, because the travel has calmed as you come down. But having the option to take two lefts should make things work pretty smoothly there. But it is, the existing conditions there are challenging. I think the right turn lane will be great. I believe they were talking about some retiming of various signals. And the traffic engineers, their conclusion was that, they can all make good improvements and make it work.
With the retiming, because I can see those two backing up. I want to get home. I had a lousy day. I don't care about anything else.
I hope that wasn't because I saw you.
And then with the school bus, so the school bus stop is going to be on the street. So the backup of the traffic is going to go way past the post office down the street.
It's gonna back up.
It's
Yep.
going to back up tremendously.
And that's what they want to have happen, and whether it would be the school bus stopping for us or someone stopping to pick up a child at your house, they want the street basically closed.
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute, Chris.
I just want to make a couple clarifications. So just in terms of the MassDOT coordination, obviously we were on that call this afternoon. As represented, it was really preliminary in nature. MassDOT is still going through a lot of the information that was provided, and that discussion will evolve. So again, in terms of timing and specific improvements, I think it's, similar to the Gouch Park conversation. It's a little bit preliminary now. In terms of the bus stop and the access of the site, I don't want to characterize it as a preference by the traffic engineers or the school department. They're not legally eligible to enter onto private property due to insurance and other purposes, other reasons. So it's not really a preference either way. But again, looking at the amenity space that can be done roadside is what we would be asking for. And it's not a requirement, it is an ask by the community, so.
Can I just, a question on that. Are you suggesting that you would kind of carve out a lane of the sidewalk? No.
No,
Okay.
there is room to do it. The traffic engineers do not want it. Because all of a sudden, as soon as you create that staging lane or turn-off lane, it lets cars think that they can bomb by, even though they're supposed to still stop.
see.
So
That makes
their
sense.
goal is, let us sit in the
Stop.
travel lane, bring everybody to a halt so we can see everybody and we can make sure it's safe. If people have to sit, letting the kids get safely on the bus is more important than anybody's, timeline.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. I realized they weren't gonna go inside. I just wanted to make that point that the traffic will get backed up and we have a lot of road rage. People are flying on that street. Okay, that was it. So hopefully we'll get an update that Mass DOT is gonna help this project.
Hi, Susan Hyder, 327 North Quincinamond Ave. On one of the photos you brought up, the 4-story, 5-level parking garage with 332 parking spaces. And I think previously you said there was like 38 on the ground level. Is that correct?
Off the top of my head, I don't recall.
It's correct.
Well, the picture that, I took a picture because I can't really see it. It says garage, 4 stories, 5 levels, 332 parking spaces.
That's correct. That
That's
is
correct.
That is correct.
And then there's something like another 35 on the ground level.
You mean outside the garage?
Yes, outside the garage around the,
What's a field parking count?
but the point I'm trying to make, so, okay, so how many parking spaces altogether for the entire unit?
There's 121 surface spaces approximately on the site, and there's 332 garage parking spaces.
So that's like 460,
Uh-huh.
470, give or take. So 300 units, if each unit has 2 vehicles, that's 600 cars. Where are they gonna go?
You're not gonna find that. You're going to, and I believe, the review, Madam Chair, if it's okay if I answer the question, but I believe that, the parking requirement for the town, I believe we satisfy it, or we're asking for a waiver from it, but you're going to find with this type of development that the actual cars that show up is going to be closer to 1.2, maybe 1.3 max. So the park, and that's why we also proposed the request to have some bank parking that is actually structurally made, but it's covered with lawn, if we determine we need additional parking. But this will be over-parked where it is right now. There'll be more than plenty of parking. There'll be a requirement that in the lease they can't park on the street. So, the parking will be fully accommodated on the property.
Okay.
They won't move into your neighborhood.
I won't allow them. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Krista Dupre, 14 Candlewood Way.
I'm not in a butter, but I'm definitely in the neighborhood of this very large project. I've been watching as much as I can and reading as much as I can, but obviously not enough. This is the first meeting I've been able to attend. I definitely echo what people have shared in the past, both board members and others at the public hearing. I had a couple of housekeeping questions, if I may, through the chair. In regards to the sewer process of when that's being updated, when did that all start for that area?
In terms of the pump station and the consent order, so that's been existing. The consent order, it was revised. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date, but just, I believe this, at some point this month. So it was just recently revised and lays out between now and, again, I don't have the exact date, but I believe it's 2027 that those improvements would be completed. So again, that's separate from this project. We note that in terms of the timeline considerations for the applicant to be aware of.
Okay. And that was more town-generated through the chair, more than project or any other projects in the neighborhood? That was more of a town
Correct.
requirement?
So my understanding of it is that it's a town requirement based on the existing capacities and that infrastructure. So in terms of, in relation to the Mass DEP draw limits, that infrastructure is required in order to maintain those limits with the existing system. And, you know, I apologize, I can get some more concise information on that. You know, I have a limited experience on that, but I can coordinate with them.
It's my understanding that we still work with Westboro Treatment Plant. We're not moving to have a backup with Worcester. But my understanding is we're reaching capacity. So to me, that's also a concern with the Westboro wastewater treatment, which has been not recent, but it's been ongoing for a couple of years, is my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I was curious, through the chair, the timeline for this particular build, what hours would be, if there would be blasting that would need to be done. In addition, regarding a previous speaker, in regards to parking, I would be concerned that workers arriving to the job site may decide to park across the street. I don't know if it would affect Donahue Rowing Center down the road, or where they would have to park for a construction timeline, and I don't know how long that would be, but curious on how long and potential hours of construction.
I can actually provide that. So in terms of the construction hours, we do have the standard condition that it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, no holidays or Sunday work. So that's pretty strictly enforced. In terms of the staging, as was represented, they provided a preliminary staging plan. We'll need a finalized a final staging plan, which will show the laydown and layout of materials. Given this site, so we do require that all materials be staged on site and no parking to be included along any of the public streets on all new projects. The only exception would be if there's preliminary clearing that needs to happen. We allow a very small window for that clearing operation. In this case, the site is largely cleared, so we will not be allowing any parking on public streets during the construction period at any time.
Thank you. In regards to parking, my apologies since I probably missed this in the drawings, is there an active parking area for deliveries, DoorDash, those types of things? In addition, how is snow removal going to be done? Is it going to be taking up spaces, removal, etc.? Curious how that's completed.
Yeah, we previously addressed that in previous meetings, and one of the recommendations of the staff was a condition that where we put our plowed snow, if we exceed the capacity, we're required to truck it off-site.
Including the top level of the garage or whatever goes in the garage as well?
If it's
Yeah.
snow, yep,
Okay.
you got it. Thank you.
I just think of spaces getting taken up by blowing snow and whatnot that do happen in parking garages. In regards to, I believe, sorry, that's North Quincy?
Yes.
Okay, so twofold question. Did the traffic study include anything from 290 is my first part, or did it only include this intersection?
It
Sure.
looked at a variety of intersections that were agreed to with the peer review consultant, that are enumerated in the report. I don't remember each intersection, but it's somewhere between 11 and 12.
Okay, all right. My grave concern regarding that North Quincy Main Street intersection is I may travel up that, for example, since I live over across the way. It's a very large intersection. People go very, very fast through this intersection to try and make the lights. I'm going straight at that light. I can't tell you how many times people are honking that I need to move so they can make their right-hand turn. It's also, to me, I'm not a truck driver nor traffic expertise, but that is a very tough, tight turn, I believe, for a tractor trailer. So I would encourage, it sounded like a curb cut was not recommended, if I was understanding what was commented before. But hearing of the backups that happen, a curb cut, I think, could be looked at. In addition to, I know people are talking about the bus traffic and going north. But I also think of what is going to be backed up through that intersection and people trying to turn right, and where that traffic may get stuck, and how many times people come from the Holden Street and they're trying to make it across, and guess what? There's not gonna be enough room if that bus is stopped, depending upon which way the bus is traveling. So that may queue up a bunch of cars all the way through that intersection and cause a gridlock, as well as a very dangerous situation. So it's not just looking at the traffic queuing on North Quincy. To me, it's through the intersection. In regards to the St. John's, or crew members, I should say, not just St. John's, running on North Quincy, my question for that is there any other crosswalk on North Quincy besides right at the top of North Quincy? Is there any other crosswalk? Down by,
So not existing, part of the complete streets improvements would place, I believe we're at, the final design came in, there's 2 additional crosswalks, one of which would be across from the Donahue Rowing Center to connect into the existing roadway. So that essentially the terminus of that project.
okay, thank you. My hunch is they're crossing at that crosswalk because there's no other crosswalk available to cross to the Donahue Rowing Center. So they are using that appropriately and then running against traffic, or unfortunately running with traffic, but they should be running against traffic. I get that's there. Let's see, what was my last question? In regards to improvements to the other intersections that were in the traffic study, are there particular timelines for those improvements? And I know it's in conjunction with Mass DOT. How long those improvements, and would that coincide with the build of, I believe, I don't know if that was stated, how long the build would actually take?
Please.
The build will take, most likely, if we are granted a permit this year, it's probably 6 to 9 months to get construction drawings in final form and to go out for financing. So we would be very, very fortunate to be able to start construction before the end of 2026. And the build is gonna be approximately 18 months. Hopefully it will be shorter. So you most likely won't see people moving into the property until almost 2028. if everything goes well.
And hopeful improvements to the different intersections would coincide with that?
I think those, the improvements are not tied to us, they're
Right.
improvements that the traffic engineers, Mass DOT, and the town
Mhm.
knows of the existing program.
Mhm.
I think the goal, at least that was expressed today, is Mass DOT may be able to guide us to work with the town to apply for grants that could expedite those, but those are all town improvements,
Mhm.
DOT improvements, not things that we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So, Chris, next steps?
I think we've covered the bulk of it. Just kind of going back to some of my key items this evening. Just grab that. I think from discussion this evening, in terms of the waiver request for the reports, I think it sounds like, we can try to provide some of those from, examples from the other projects that we're seeing
Sure.
locally, so those waivers may not be needed if that information can be provided and the board finds it sufficient. The community impact was the other report. If the board would like to see some kind of narrative on that, I think that's the discussion item. And then finally, the long-term monitoring plan. I don't have an issue waiting until the final, having that as a condition of approval. The board is fine with that, but again, defer to them, to you all if that's acceptable. Just gonna pull up my comment letter to see if there's other items. But
Are the distances from abutting properties?
Done.
that was provided, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, too many windows up. We discussed the loading areas, and then the stockpile staging we discussed as well, so unless the board wants to have more information in relation to those.
I think we're all kind of maybe at the end of our ability to concentrate, frankly. Am I speaking for everyone in the room?
It started at 5 for me,
Okay.
so don't worry about it.
Somebody's falling asleep over here. I'm kidding, but no, I'm kidding. So I assume that we want to continue. We can, we have a lot of work around waivers that we can be working on. Any further advice for us in terms of next steps, or you just see this as we continue and try to stay on task throughout the next month?
Yes, the one thing that I would say is it's probably a good idea for me to begin drafting a comprehensive permit decision. It doesn't tie the board's hands one way or another, it's just sort of something to provide the board and give it some guidance as how it moves forward in the process.
I think that'd be helpful. Thank you. Anything else before we continue? All right, so might I get a motion to continue tonight's hearing, please?
I move to continue tonight's hearing to October 27th at 6 PM.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have just a few other items on our agenda.
No, not yet.
We have some new business to attend to.
I know.
We need to appoint a new clerk. Given that our previous clerk, Peter Mulcahy, has formally rendered his resignation from the board. I would open it up to discussion. If anybody feels that they would be a really good clerk, speak now.
Thank you.
Feel pretty good about it?
All right, there we go.
I was
I
gonna
like that.
suggest,
All right.
David.
So
Beat me
was that
to
a
it.
motion?
David, you beat me to it.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second?
All right.
All right.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right.
Thank
So
you,
Dave's now our
David.
clerk. And might I get a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn this meeting.
And can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
I gotta go to the bathroom.